Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors into the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The 144,000, the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like those heathen. This is not a black thing. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And focus on a couple videos that I watched yesterday. This is one of a few that the beloved elder bro Yashuamba put up. I was actually watching him live camp. The Apostle Rakab was with him, and D-Mash was there with him as well. Elder D-Mash out of Indiana. But if you haven't subscribed to Remnant Save 144, you need to immediately. Days are coming where this sort of edification, in history will not be accessible to you, because we're doing a great work and a great damage to the true axis of evil, which is Esau, Edom. All right. But as you can see on here, it says read all Israel news in German. So think about that. All right. In German. All right. And then, there was a German professor that talked about how he could read Yiddish because it's mostly German. All right. As a matter of fact, let me pop out a receipt now that I said that. Because you have Job 13:4, liars, doctors like, the shamed sexual predator, Dr. Brown, Dr. Michael Brown, who has boldly said on record that the Yiddish-based Hebrew that he speaks is the true Hebrew when it's a lie. He didn't, that Hebrew is not Hebrew at all. It's just what do we call it? German Slavic language, written with Hebrew characters. They added in the European vowel points, or the Latin. I won't even say European, because that's that's made up as well. Europe is in Asia, always has been. Can provide that receipt as well. All right, but Ben Eliezer Yehudi in the late 1800s basically created a new language and used the Hebrew characters to do it. And that revised language is the language that they use today to try and explain ancient things so that they can control the narrative. But here's the receipt. This is from the Winston Simplified Dictionary, encyclopedic version. Let me lighten the screen up. I just realized how dark it was. And there it is. Yiddish. All right. German, Jewish, kind of mixed German and Hebrew language. You put Slavic in there too, because in my Oxford behind me. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get that one. And now that I know I can blow it up, make it large and put it on a screen like this. But it says a Hebrew language spoken by Jews, written, or it should say Jewish, spoken by the Jewish, and written or printed in Hebrew characters. You see? So it's printed in Hebrew characters, but it's not really Hebrew. And so, Esau Edom loves to establish the narrative. So now all of a sudden, they're talking about, a lot of these so-called scholars and Christians and people are talking about prophecy now, when they've pretty much ignored prophecy. And my whole thing is, you can't go into Ezekiel 38, because Ezekiel 38 happens as a result of Ezekiel 37. And Ezekiel 37 happens as a result of Ezekiel 36. And the way that you got to Ezekiel 36 was through Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, 15 to the end, the curses that fell upon Israel. So let's start there. All right, this is something I was thinking about as I was watching the Elder Bro, do his breakdowns of going to. He did another one too with when he started off with Joe Rogan. That was pretty good, about all the false flags and things that they got coming down the pipeline, because they are losing control of the narrative. All right, and this internet is hurting them, and it's not just the worst hurt is coming from us speaking the truth biblically and things about the ancient things and the truth about who the Israelites really are. But a lot of their other plans and other lies, more modern ones, is being exposed mainly by their own people. Remember that Psalm 64:8 is in effect big time. Their own tongues falling upon themselves. You got their insiders, their soldiers, they're just blurting out random information and hurting the cause of Esau Edom. Because in times past they could print something in the newspaper, they could say something over the airwaves and send it out, and then there would be no rebuttal, there would be no challenge. That will become the official story, and the only people that actually knew the truth were very few people in places around the world who really had no voice. So the truth went unheard. Now, through this internet, everyone has a voice, and through that voice, those voices, you're having challenges to the established false narratives that's pushed forth by almost all mainstream media. All right, because mainstream media, basically, there's no such thing as investigative reporting. They get printouts, they get orders. All right, that's why you have, there's so many compilation videos where they're showing you, 400 or 500 different, radio stations, TV stations, all uttering the same words. What that means is that they all got the same email as to what to say. They all got the same script. So, there's no such thing as reporters. And then, we know the connection to the CIA. And then he even talks about how now it's now legal to lie to Americans. And that goes back, I remember first seeing that on the internet about 5-6 years ago, right before, the C-19 thing. And all of a sudden it's illegal to lie, and then that hits. And now everybody took the Band-Aid, well, many people took the Band-Aid, and all those people that seem to have taken the Band-Aid, myocarditis, sudden death, all sorts of other issues. And, yeah. But this is Deuteronomy 28th chapter in the 15th verse. And it reads, "But it shall come to pass, if thou shalt not hearken unto the Lord thy power, unto Yahweh thy power, to observe and do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." All right. So, of course, our forefathers did not follow the law, statutes, and commandments collectively. And as a result of that, these curses fell upon us. And I'm just going to read, I'm not going to read all of them. I'm going to just go to some very key ones that stand out. All right. And I'm going to start at verse 43. I'm going to read about 5 or 6 of them. But these are key. All right. And this one says, I read 41 too. It says, "Thou shalt begat sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them. For they shall go into captivity during the time of slavery." All right. And even after. And this is both the northern and the southern kingdom. All right. So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. Their daughters, sons and daughters were taken from them, sold or shipped off to different schools and institutions. Yeah. That curse fell upon them. That curse never fell upon the Israeli citizens. There's no time and place, where their children were being sold or shipped off and they never got to see them again. And you can't, and you can't tie in a one event that happened during one war and try to make that fit the curses. And because the one I'm reading about, this lasted for hundreds and hundreds of years. All right. Verse 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. This does not match any of the Israelis, because in every society that they're in, they're above everyone. In every place in the West, in America, definitely in the land of Israel, they're the head, they're not the tail. That's one of the curses. It said, thou shalt be the tail, and they shall be the head. So the Israelis, in every society that they're in, they're at the head. You know how it says that Amalek shall be the first of the nations? Well, yeah, that came true too. Verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. No one is going to natives, Hispanics, nor Negroes to get loans. All right? Part of the curses. We would have no power in the lands where we got scattered collectively. There's always a couple, Cunalites that they let through and advance so that they can put the camera on them and make it look like, see, it's an equal opportunity. It's a land of our, you're just lazy and they worked hard. No, that's not the case. Verse 45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, until thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. All right, so that's the reason why we're in the condition collectively that we're in as a people. All right. Next one, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. This would be the collective condition of the Israelites all around the world, wherever they are, until the Lord return. They would not be in a position where they can lend you money, where they can lend you a car loan, where they could lend you a school loan, where they could finance your payments for your house, your buildings, your businesses. They would not be in that position. All you have to do is just look around the world and see who's, Columbo told you, follow the money. Jumping up to verse 64. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all the people, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even of wood and stone. So all these wooden carved images, the Kabbalah, that square thing that the Muslims walk around and kiss and worship, gods of wood and stone, all the carved images of the modern Tammuz, which is Cesare Borgia, who the world ignorantly calls today Jesus Christ. The Lord is a Hebrew and had a Hebrew name. Go read the book of Hebrews, the 7th chapter. All right. In Acts, it tells you that, I've often pointed out that the language of heaven is Hebrew, not Yiddish, not Greek, not Latin, not English. When the Lord told Paul and his companions his name in the book of Acts, the 26th chapter, it tells you quite frankly that he said it in the Hebrew tongue. All right. Hebrew is the language of heaven, not Latin. All right. Latin is the language that all witchcraft is spoken in. Almost all spells are spoken in Latin. Every horror movie you see. Now I watched and this is how you know when I'm getting a little off, but I'm gonna come right back. How you know that these Hollywood directors watch us. All right, because for the first time I saw, and I was watching, Wicked, and the girl chanted a curse or a spell, and she chanted it in a made up language that had no vowels in it. All right, they were trying to, throw a diss at the Lashawan Kodash that we speak for the first time. Because when you watch the Lord of the Rings or any other, or a lot of these, these movies, when they start chanting these horror movies, it's always in Latin. And all of a sudden she was, it was like she was reciting the Hebrew alphabet the way we do, the way it's actually supposed to be said, without the vowel points. So the only long vowel in Hebrew is I. Everything else is I. So if it's a D, it's da. If it's a K, it's ka. If it's an L, it's la. If it's an M, it's ma. And that's pretty much the way she pronounced all. I was like, look at this. So anyway, let's get right back. So once again, working our way back up to Ezekiel 38. What causes Ezekiel 38 are the curses. Us coming out of the curses, us going through and then coming out of the curses. All right. And so now we're going to fast forward to Ezekiel 36. Remember, you can't talk about Ezekiel 38 without the chapter before it, 37, 36. We've already covered the curses. So let's jump to the future. All right. Millennium have gone by. 2 millennium have gone by. We've been living under these curses. All right. But remember, 1,000 years is only a day to the Lord. And the Lord said he would return in the third day. So we're in the third day now. All right. We're past that 2,000 year mark. So we're in the third day. That third 1,000 years. So, all right. Keep all that in mind. So we're going forward to Ezekiel 36. Chapter that you never hear the rabbis or Christians talk about ever. All right. Because there's some cute things in here that happen that is really revealing, because we know, all right, according to scripture and prophecy, that the Lord returns to a world that's ruled by the Edomites, which Christianism has tried to deny. Okay, so this is Ezekiel 36 and 2, and it reads, I'll start at verse 1. Point is in 2 and 5 though. And it's in Ezekiel 36 and 1. Also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. All right, so we're talking to our people, the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad, even those that are among the heathen that look like heathens. We're talking to them too. Thus saith the Lord power, because the enemy have said against you, aha! Even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Think about it. What's the highest place in the world? The land of Israel. That's the high land. That's the holy land. And it's in the possession of Esau, Edom. Jumping down to verse 5. To secure and profess that receipt, that truth. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, because a lot of heathen helped Esau, Edom, supported them. All right. Which was in vain, because Esau, Edom is now turning on all the heathen for the most part. They didn't share in the spoils with them. They helped them to come into power, and then they didn't, by oppressing and keeping Israel down, the true Israelites, us. But then, now they mistreat them too, like they're just goyim as well. It says, well, isn't it funny that the true goyim are calling people goyim? But it says, therefore thus saith the lowest of the goyim, on top of that. Therefore thus saith the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. Wait a minute. Which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their hearts, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. The Idumeans, which is the Greek way of saying Edom, excuse me, which is the Greek way of saying Edom, the Edomites are in the Holy Land. Ezekiel 36 chapter tells you that the Edomites are in the Holy Land. And when did they do that? 1948. All right, Ezekiel 37 chapter. I'm going to read verse 1 and then jump to the point. The hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of dry bones. All right. And the valley of the shadow of death is where the dry bones were. That's here in Babylon in America. All right. It was a shadow of death to us collectively. Like that character Theracules and Theracules, I believe his name was called, in Spartacus, the big Edomite dude that fought with two swords. He didn't even have a shield. You know, most gladiators fought with a shield and a sword. He fought with two swords, and he went undefeated, and only one gladiator had survived him. All right. If you never watched the series Spartacus, you should. Right. You can get valuable insight historically on what was going on, especially how Greece and Rome was a mixed society, and people of color were all in there. All right. You know, you got to remember they're you know, the lands that they conquered, including Western Asia and Egypt. So all those melanated Asian people and melanated Africans were all a part of Roman society, even within the government and within the military. But, you know, Hollywood portrayed them as being only Edomites. But don't get it twisted. The Edomites were still in control and in rulership, same as they are today. All right. Just remember that part. But like I said, you can get a lot of historical insight and revelations and understanding. It'll make a lot of scriptures and things clear if you watch it. All right. But nevertheless, I'm going to jump to verse 9 and 10. And it reads, Then he said unto me, prophesy, and this is Ezekiel 37. Then he said unto me, prophesy unto the wind, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord power, come from the four winds, O breath, and upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came unto them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. All of a sudden, the Israelites were awakened. See, the Bible clearly tells you that the Israelites would lose their heritage. This is something that's ignored by apologists. It is ignored by rabbis. It is ignored by Islam. It is ignored by mainstream religions. But the Bible, which is supposed to be the base of all of this, tells you clearly that the Israelites would go into slavery. They would get shipped to the four corners of the earth among all people. They would lose their heritage and forget who they are. And then in the latter days, in the end of days, they would awaken. That's what Ezekiel 37 is about, because the Ezekiel 38 happens because of Ezekiel 37. All right, that's what comes next. After the awakening, then comes the destruction of all the enemies of the Israelites. And the Lord is making those enemies fight and destroy each other. And in the midst of them fighting and destroying each other, the Lord is going to come and destroy them all, make himself known. That's why you're seeing all these orbs shooting down drones. They went from calling them UFOs to UAPs to now orbs, which are written in the Bible. They are the chariots of Israel, the messengers, the angels. All right. Jumping down to verse 16. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, make thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel and his companions, and join them another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? The Israelites, all right, the stick was created. The Lord used Elder Ariah. He was the vessel that got the understanding, because Abba Bibbins knew that the Northern Kingdom was there was the Latinos and natives of the Americas. He was very well aware of that, but he did not have the breakdown on who the tribes were. That was given to Ariah. And when you go into, and then you have people that come up against the sign ignorantly and foolishly, but when you go into the prophecies, each tribe matches the prophecies of the description and the place and the things that those tribes will be doing. All right. Say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be mine, and the sticks wherein thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. The 12 tribe sign is major, undeniable prophecy that it would happen. No one did it until the awakening came. The Israelis didn't make a sign. The Edomite Christians didn't make a sign. None of them went out on the highways and byways and started professing who they were. And now you got Christians that are actually trying to go out on the highways and byways. And which is a joke, because when you go into their history, you find out that their parents were slave owners and owned the ships, because that's how the Israelites got scattered. All right, let's go back to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. And let's jump down to 64. I read 64. Yeah, he will scatter you from one end of the earth to the other. What I didn't read was 68. I'll read 64 again though, just for clarity. And Yahweh will scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth, even until the other. And thou shalt serve other gods, which thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And then they'll try to say, oh, well, other people went into slavery too. When the other people don't fit the prophecies. All right. Because, you know, that's, well, we just broke it all down. Okay. And like I said, these Christian groups that are going out on the street screaming Jesus, when we just broke down the language, that's not the name. All right. When you look into their family backgrounds, their families, their forefathers did the scattering. So you can't do the scattering and then be the people. Verse 68, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Egypt meaning the house of bondage. Slavery is a bondage. By wherefore I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. The it is the land of Israel. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, slave men and slave women, and no one shall buy you. No one shall redeem you. All right. And then they try to make it fraudulently and erroneously made one version where it says you shall offer yourselves for sale, but no one shall buy. Now, that's why the importance of understanding and going into the original languages that the Bible was written in to get understanding is key. All right. That's what going into the Strong's Concordance, going into the blue letter to understand the Hebrew and to understand the Greek, because the whole Bible was actually written in Hebrew first, including the New Testament. All right. But then later on, the New Testament was translated to the Greek. So in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew. So you had the Hebrew and the Greek, and so a lot of words don't translate into other languages. So to get the full understanding, you have to. So anyone who speaks against that, well, that's because that person has a false doctrine that they're trying to push a narrative of their own and not the truth. So there it is in a nutshell. I presented the evidence, and I presented the information. The evidence and the information is irrefutable. And Esau, Edom has been found to be liars. And matter of fact, let's get that in Deuteronomy. And we'll close. This is Deuteronomy 33 and 29, and it reads, Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, who is the sword of thy excellency, and thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. So their lies are high places. They're established religions, Judaism, Christianism, Islamism, all right, and everything in between. All right, none of that, none of those things match up to what the Bible says. But the doctrine that the Hebrews, the true awakened Hebrews in these latter days, it does. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, all honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, Kwam Yasharala, Abad Babal.